Hello. This week's topic is Congress. Please make sure you read Chapter 9 before attempting the written assignment for the week. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background about Congress. Congress is the legislative branch of our government. The legislative branch's role is to make laws. So Congress does make the laws, all of the federal laws that we live under in this country. The Congress is a bicameral institution, which means that it has two houses, a House of Representatives and a Senate. The House of Representatives is made up of 435 members, and the Senate is made up of 100. The number of senators is based on the number of states. There are two per state, so anytime a new state is added, you have two more senators added to the Senate, but currently it is 100. In the House, the 435 number was set by law about 100 years ago, and so those 435 House seats get shuffled around among the states every 10 years because the House is based on population. So every 10 years after the census, the federal government decides how many districts each state will get. The House members represent a district, so they have to reassign those districts every 10 years based on the population changes. Michigan currently has 14 districts out of the 435. 10 years ago, we had 15, so we have declined over the last 20 or 30 years, or a little bit more than that even. We've been declining, and that's a result of population changes, people moving out of the state of Michigan when we were having economic decline, and a lot of people moving to the southern part of the United States, and in particular the Southwest, and states like Southeast and Southwest, Florida and Texas and California have all gained seats over the last half century, and states like Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania, which are the industrial part of the country, have lost seats. And that's largely a reflection of the changing economy. Now, hopefully, we won't continue to lose districts, but we have lost them over the last several censuses. Every 10 years after the census, when the states are told how many districts they're going to have, the state legislature engages in the redistricting process. Most states, it's the state legislature that redistricts, although a few states have a nonpartisan commission. But as you'll read in the chapter, when state legislatures engage in redistricting, they oftentimes are focused on politics more than anything else, and so they create districts that favor one political party over another. That is known as gerrymandering. So please make sure you read through the information in the book on the concept of gerrymandering. It's not technically allowed, but the courts very rarely will strike down gerrymandered districts. The districts do have to be roughly equal in terms of population. That is a requirement of the Constitution, but otherwise state legislatures have a lot of discretion in terms of how they draw the boundaries. So when they do gerrymander, and they do this to benefit one party over another, that ends up kind of locking in incumbent advantages, meaning it's very hard for the opposing party to knock off an incumbent when he or she is representing a gerrymandered district. In Michigan, the last time this was done in 2010 or 2011, the Republicans were in charge, so the gerrymandered districts in our state favor the Republicans. We currently have 14 districts, and 9 of those districts, 8 or 9 of those districts favor the Republicans, and the remaining ones favor the Democrats. So the Republicans do have an advantage among our congressional delegation. Now, this doesn't happen with the Senate, obviously, because senators represent their entire state. Currently, our two senators are Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters. They are both Democrats who represent the state of Michigan. And then you do have a representative in the House. That is based on where you live, so I don't know who your representative is, but I would encourage you to go online and find out if you don't already know. If you go to the website house.gov and enter your zip code, you should be able to locate the name of your U.S. representative, the one who represents you in Congress. In terms of the work of Congress, the House and the Senate operate separately in that the House and the Senate pass their bills separately, but eventually the House and Senate versions of a bill have to be reconciled because the Congress as an institution can only send one bill to the president for his or her consideration. So if there are any differences between the House and Senate versions of a bill, those differences have to be worked out by the two chambers. The legislative process is detailed in your book, so please read through that. It's important to understand what the steps are in the process. You should also know that most bills that get introduced in Congress each year will never become law. There are a lot of obstacles in the path of passage of a bill, and that's deliberate. The founders of the country did not want to make it easy to pass bills because those bills become laws that we have to live under. But they also didn't want to make it impossible because we do have to have laws. So there are a number of obstacles in the path of legislation. Some of those obstacles exist more on the Senate side because on the Senate side, there are the rules allow members to add unlimited amendments to some bills, which can change the nature of the bill. And one of the things you'll read about in chapter 9 is the issue of filibusters. In the Senate, this can only occur in the Senate. Filibusters don't exist in the House. But in the Senate, if someone, a senator or a group of senators, is opposed to a bill that the Senate is considering, they can filibuster it, which means literally to talk it to death. In the Senate, there are no time limits on debate. So an opponent of a bill can actually essentially hold the Senate hostage and refuse to go up the floor until the other side backs down. There is a formal way to stop a filibuster that's known as cloture, and it takes 3/5 or 60 senators out of 100 to invoke cloture. So in recent years, both parties have used filibusters when they've been in the minority. So the Republicans did this frequently during the 6 years they were in the minority when President Obama was in office. And then more recently, the Democrats have threatened to use this or have used this against Donald Trump. Again, the Democrats are currently in the minority in the Senate. Now, you should know that it can be abused, but it also is an important tool for the minority party, and neither party really wants to get rid of the filibuster altogether because they recognize that at some point the majority party could get rid of it, but they know that at some point they will be in the minority again. And if it's used judiciously, it's a great way to slow bills down. Now, unfortunately, in recent years it has been overused, or at least threats of filibusters have been overused, and it has made it difficult to pass legislation. Filibusters cannot be used anymore for Supreme Court appointments, nor can they be used for lower-level judicial appointments or other appointments that presidents make, but they can still be used on legislation. Now, there is a way around a filibuster, but it's not easy to do. So, but again, the minority party likes to use the filibuster. The majority party doesn't, but majority party knows that they could be in the minority at some point. So please read through that and understand what that rule is. Finally, in the chapter, the authors discuss the representation function of Congress. In particular, they talk about the trustee model and the instructed delegate model. So please make sure you read through that, because our legislators, House and Senate members, are supposed to represent us, the people, but obviously we don't have all the information on every bill, and so we may not be as knowledgeable about a bill, and hopefully our representatives and senators are knowledgeable about bills. But in that discussion in the book, you'll see different theories of how a representative or a senator should represent his or her constituents. All right, so if you have any questions, please contact me, and I hope you have a great week. Thank you.